My grandson is currently staying with me at my house. He doesn't want to live with his parents, so he moved in with me, which is fine. But I do have some conditions, namely that he get a job and pay rent, which he has done. He works at the Dairy Queen and pays me $400 a month in rent. I also usually require him to help around the house, normally just doing chores or helping me in the yard. But there are other rules I expect him to follow, like being home at a certain time, usually before midnight, and not buying certain groceries, unhealthy things like soda and junk food. We usually have gotten along well, despite some tension here and then, until a couple weeks ago. Usually, on weekends, he stays out late and won't come home until 1 or 2. When I ask him about it, he just shrugs it off and tells me he is hanging with his friends and that it's not a big deal. I usually try to remind him that it's one of the rules, but he doesn't listen and says he's an adult and that it's not an issue. This angers me and we always fight, and he usually apologizes. However, this Friday he went out with friends, and when I woke up yesterday morning he wasn't home and his car wasn't in the driveway. He didn't get home until about 11. I was furious with him and immediately asked where he had been. He said that he had been staying over at a friend's house and decided to stay the night so they could get breakfast together in the morning. Long story short, we got into it again and I'd finally had enough. He doesn't see the issue with staying out late and coming home at random times and not telling me where he's going. So I told him he needs to be out by Monday and to move back in with his parents. He got really upset at this and we fought some more, but I told him he wasn't respecting my rules, so that he should just go home to his parents, my daughter is his mother, or stay with someone else who would allow him to act this way. He left this morning with most of his things. I'm going to ship the rest. I just got off the phone with his mother, my daughter, who thinks I'm being unfair, but I just told her the same thing, which is that if he's living under my roof then he needs to abide by my rules. She was frustrated with me, but didn't press it. I feel like I'm in the right here, but I don't understand why both my grandson and my daughter think I'm being unreasonable. Am I being an idiot? You are the idiot. He's paying rent and he's being responsible. I feel like you're being too unreasonable considering the fact that he pays rent to stay in your house, so not only is he not freeloading off of you, but he's also supporting you. So you should treat him like an adult and be a landlord to him and respect him. I feel you are a bit too controlling on him, and while he still is your grandson, he's trying to make that transition into adulthood. He hasn't done anything wrong, and the fact that he opted to sleep overnight instead of risk his well-being driving home late at night. You're the idiot. He's 22 years old, he may not be the most responsible adult, but he is an adult. He can drink and eat whatever he wants and stay out as he likes. The only issue I'd see from him staying out so late is maybe waking you up when he returns. But if that isn't his issue and he is quiet and respectful on his return, then let him live his life. The only thing you're doing is hurting your relationship with him. He pays rent and helps with chores, other than that he is his own person. When you were his age, how would you react to a family member monitoring you every step of the way? You are the idiot, absolutely, in my opinion. My 21-year-old daughter rents the basement of our house. She has no curfew and can purchase or eat whatever she wants since she's an adult. It's utterly ridiculous to charge an adult child rent while imposing middle school level restrictions upon them. They are either a non-rent paying child with juvenile rules or a rent paying adult exempt from juvenile rules. You can't have it both ways, it's hypocritical. I really need to know if I'm in the wrong here, so the advice is appreciated. I've always been the resident chef for my family. My wife is a bad cook, her words, not mine, so over the years I've been the one to cook every meal for my family. I've spent a lot of time learning too. I've taken multiple classes each year to help me, and honestly, it slowly became a passion of mine. So, for most of the night for the past 16 years, I've come home and spent at least an hour, often several, making dinner for my family. This is where my daughter comes in, let's call her Sally. Sally turned 16 this year and oh boy has it been rough. She never left her rebellious phase. She has always tried to make me and her mom know how much she hates us and that she can't wait till she's in the real world so she can finally be free. I get it. She's at that age where she wants more freedom and sometimes we can be hard on her. That's not the problem here. One of the Sally's new things, though, is telling me how much my cooking is awful. For the past 2 weeks every night I've cooked she will tell me everything wrong with a meal I've cooked. She will go on all night about the crap I forced her to eat and that she should just be able to cook her own meal instead. She's far past the age of letting her go hungry, so I just have let it go until last night. I got off work late, so I just decided to grab burgers on the way home for dinner. Sally went on and on after about how she finally had decent food to eat and that this stuff wasn't cooked by a pathetic wannabe chef. I don't know why, but that hit me hard and I ended up crying in my room after. My wife caught me and told me it needs to stop now. So tonight when I got home I cooked enough for me, my wife, and my son. I steamed some rice and beans and put them on a plate for my daughter. When she came to eat I informed her, since I only cook crap I made her something else, and that was all she would be eating in this house from now on. She blew up. She called me a bad father before storming to her room. My son thinks I'm just being mean and that I've sunk to her level, while my wife says I did the right thing. I talked to my mom too, and she says this was a heavy overreaction and that all teens do this at some point and that it only will make things worse. Not the idiot, but can I make a suggestion? Have her cook for the family. Either for a week straight as an actual punishment or institute a schedule whereby she does it once a week forever if that's more appropriate. Be polite about the results, don't criticize them to show her what it's like, sneak out for late night burgers afterward if necessary, but eat her dinner if you can. What your daughter needs to learn is that cooking is effort, it's work and it's something to be grateful for. Not the idiot. My mom did this to my father, siblings, and me when I was a kid. We bellyached about every meal. So she was like, fine, feed yourselves. My dad almost killed us with his horrible cooking. He accidentally made rice o' with canned tuna instead of canned chicken. Even the dog refused to eat it. We all gained a whole new appreciation for her time and effort to keep us alive with healthy, balanced meals. She also taught all of us to cook so that we weren't like my dad. That man can grill, but that's it. Everyone's the idiot here because you handled this wrong, you cooked her bad food to show her your normal food is good. The correct approach was to take her at her word when she said that you forced her to eat and she should be able to cook for herself. You should have told her that was fine and that from now on, she will be cooking for herself. That way, you're not the idiot because you're not giving her bad food. You're just allowing her to spend her own time cooking her own food. She'll soon realize how much effort cooking is and how good your food is by comparison. My brother met and fell in love with his longtime crush Sue, not a real name, 5 years ago, and they decided to get married soon after. 3 years before they met, Sue had divorced her abusive husband and they have a daughter together from their short marriage. A few weeks before the wedding, one day my good friend Gemma, not a real name, rang me up and she told me that she needed to see me because there was something really important that she needed to tell me. So we met at a coffee shop and she told me the truth about Sue. Years before Sue and my brother met, Gemma's brother was on a business trip in another city and there he ran into Sue, who was working as a good-time girl at the time. They had an affair and grew really close and Sue revealed to him that she went into this profession because she had no choice. She just got divorced and was in a financial crisis and needed money to support her daughter. Gemma's brother felt sorry for her and he continually supported her financially for a year until she finally got a job and was able to support herself and her daughter. Gemma thought that I needed to know about Sue's past since she was going to be a part of our big family. She said it was up to me what to do about it since it was my brother that Sue was going to marry. I felt really conflicted whether I should tell my brother or not. My family is a well-respected family in town and such a scandal would definitely ruin our good reputation. But after considering it for a while, I decided not to tell him about it. Because I believed everyone has a past they want to forget and leave behind. Who am I to judge her? I tried to justify her because she was going through a very difficult phase in her life and was lost not knowing what to do. Weeks ago, my brother finally figured it out on his own about his wife's past and he is now really hurt and devastated. He wants to divorce her, but they have 3 little kids who would be greatly affected by it. What hurts him the most is the fact that she had kept her past a secret from him for many years. He does not know what to do now. He feels betrayed. He left their house and is currently staying at my parents'. To make things worse, after my brother told our parents about his wife, my father had a nervous breakdown and went into depression for days and had to be hospitalized for days. I still haven't told anyone that I have known about Sue's past for years. And now I am feeling so guilty for this predicament that is going on in my family. I think if I had told them about it before the wedding years ago, this would have never happened. Am I the idiot? You're the idiot. You're all being so wildly overdramatic about this. It's fine to be upset that she hid the truth for years, but to get so upset that you have to be hospitalized. That you'd leave the house and essentially abandon your children. It was years and years ago, and she has since moved on. It's like y'all are blatantly ignoring the fact that if she was in an abusive relationship, her abuser might have forced her into it, but no, by all means, call her a bad person and berate her for something she had to do to provide for her child. Everyone's the idiot here. You for not confronting either her or your brother at the time. Secrets like this always seem to have a habit of coming out, and your reasoning for keeping it buried was selfish and frankly ridiculous. Against your brother's happiness and right to know the skeletons in his now wife's closet was definitely an idiot move. That said, Sue is also an idiot. She deserves a second chance to move on from what sounds like a pretty horrific previous life, but not at the expense of keeping such big secrets from your brother. Everyone's the idiot here. You should have told your brother years ago when you found out the information. You should not, however, be worrying about telling your entire family. That's incredibly selfish. This is a private matter between your brother and Sue. If they had felt the need to tell everyone, then they would have. Sue should have told him this information before anyone else got involved, but that was her decision. It's sad that she didn't feel like she could tell your brother about her past, but it's also understandable, especially if she was doing the work out of desperation. I'm at 21 with divorced parents. My dad cheated on my mom when I was 10 and left us to marry his co-worker Kay. I'd like to add that it was me who walked in on my father and Kay in my parents' marital bed. In the weeks following the incident, my pregnant mother ended up miscarrying. Dad soon moved out and filed for divorce, stating that he was in love with Kay and that she was pregnant. My mother was inconsolable. Kay soon gave birth to my half-sister S, after which she married my dad. I remember I always hated going to my dad's place. I remember being miserable whenever I was around them. I never had a bond with S and never considered her to be my sister. Anyway, I visited Dad till I was 15 and then moved to another country with my mom, where she met P. P was an amazing guy who made my mother smile again. They ended up getting married and my mom gave birth to my twin brothers. When I moved to the new country, I cut off contact with Dad. I was supposed to visit them every Christmas, but after my brothers were born, I felt like I finally had a real family and I chose to spend my holidays with my mom, P, and little brothers. Well, last year S was diagnosed with advanced leukemia. I did feel sorry for her, but I was not in any way affected by the news. Call me heartless, but for me, it was like some neighborhood kid getting sick. I felt guilty about my feelings because I'm very protective towards my brothers and the mere thought of any harm coming to them makes me anxious. She finally passed away on the morning of my 21st birthday. Now for my 21st, I had a big party planned. I went through with the party and had a great time. I was careful about not posting pics on my social media, but a friend ended up posting the pics on her Facebook. She tagged me in the pictures and my dad's family ended up coming across them. I was clearly having a great time in the pics, with no hint of sadness. Well, Kay Sorad. She made a Facebook post bashing me for celebrating my sister's death and being inconsiderate of my devastated father's feelings. She also wished death upon me. I finally had enough and proceeded to make a lengthy Facebook post detailing all the hurtful things they did to hurt me and my mother. I stated that my father was dead to me and that I wanted nothing to do with that family anymore. Lastly, I added that, although it was sad that S was dead, I never considered her my sister and wasn't really affected by her death and that they had no right to come at me for living my life and celebrating my birthday. I ended up blocking all of them. Today my mom told me that I was insensitive and that I shouldn't have made the post disowning my dad and dead half-sister. I feel like I did the right thing. I'm happy being 100% no contact and don't feel any guilt for celebrating my birthday or for the post. I was tired of their crap. Am I the idiot? Everyone's the idiot here. Celebrating your own birthday, even if others were mourning, is reasonable. Keeping your celebration off social media was appropriately sensitive. You need to change your Facebook permissions on tags to keep other people from doing this in the future. Your dad and Kay just lost a daughter, they are not going to be thinking clearly or feel the same way you do. They lashed at you for not sharing their grief at the time, that was very wrong. Their response was to simply add pain, agony, and anger to people who were already in grief. You're the idiot. I would have ruled differently, except that it was perfectly normal for your devastated stepmom to freak out. She was in the middle of the worst trauma any parent can experience, most of us would far rather die than experience that. You do not hold people to normal standards of behavior during the peak of intense grief, even if you hate them. The only appropriate response, no matter what she said to you in the heat of the moment, is "I'm sorry for your loss." Your mother is correct, your response was insensitive, immature, and unnecessary. Everyone's the idiot here, and I pretty much mean everyone but poor S. She didn't ask to be the product of an affair. I understand you didn't have a lot of interaction with her, but she was still your sister, and you're an adult. You could have delayed the birthday party a week, people would have understood. Also, regardless of what they've done to you, attacking a parent when their child has just passed away is pretty heartless. Your dad and Kay are wrong for having an affair in the first place, and your dad for giving up a relationship with you by letting your mom take you far away. My husband and I have a 4-year-old daughter. We both work, so during the days we have a nanny come in. We still wanted to prioritize family time though. I have been feeling really drained recently, missing the hobbies I did before we had our daughter. Back then. I do kickboxing right after work on Mondays and Wednesdays, and yoga right after work on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I realized I could still swing it, potentially. My time away from home, work, and commute combined is 8 a.m. till 4:30 p.m. My husband is away from 8 a.m. till 7 p.m. because he works longer hours and had a longer commute. If I started going back to working out, I'd still be able to make it home before 6 or 7 every day and still be able to spend time as a whole family. To be honest, when I have been getting home at 4:30 every day and taking over from our nanny, all I've wanted to do was zone out. So I mentioned to my husband that I was gonna offer our nanny more hours during the week so I could get to the gym. He went okay, but didn't seem to be thinking about details, and he didn't ask any more questions. So, for the last few weeks, I've been having our nanny stay till 6:30 every weekday. She's happy to have the extra hours, and I'm enjoying getting back to my workouts. Plus I use Friday evening to do some grocery shopping alone, because it's a lot easier than doing it with a kid in tow. I was casually talking to my husband about our monthly budget, which I manage because I'm better with cash, and how I was offsetting the cost of having our nanny stay an extra 10 hours a week. I had stopped going out for lunches often, and I'd replaced some of our usual purchases, soap, TP, detergent, shampoo, etc., with bulk purchases online. And my husband was like, "What, 10 hours? You said you were just going out to the gym sometimes." So I explained my schedule, and he wasn't happy with it. He said he didn't want to be the type of parents who pushes their kid off on a nanny all the time. Work is one thing, but going out for hours every day after work was another. I told him about how it made me much more refreshed and happy the time I all home. So while I'm decreasing the time I'm home a little, I'm really increasing quality time with my family. Because I feel energized rather than drained. I didn't realize how much I missed working out regularly until I got back to it. My husband thinks I'm being selfish, he doesn't like that I want so much time to recharge from family time. He thinks it should be fulfilling, not draining. And I'm honestly happy it is for him. But I'm an introvert, I like being able to spend some time just focusing on my workout and letting go of stress. And I really don't want to give it up now that I've been doing it for a few weeks. Am I the idiot for wanting this much me time? Not the idiot. A lot of people keep commenting about the time OP is taking away from her daughter. I believe in quality over quantity. There's no point in spending a lot of time with your child if you're not in the right frame of mind. OP feels she's a more effective parent following self-care, and who cares if it's 10 hours in the week, as long as she manages to spend some good quality time with her child and husband. Just because one feels their way works best, spending every waking and breathing moment with their family doesn't mean it works for everyone.